Today, we're diving into an interesting question for Veterans Day. Just how many US presidents and vice presidents have served in the military? You might think it's common knowledge, but the answer has some surprises, and maybe even some twists you won't see coming. To start with, let's take a look back at the role of military service in US presidential history. For much of American history, military service was seen as almost a prerequisite for the presidency. After all, who better to command the nation than someone who'd already proven themselves in service, right? But over time, that idea evolved, and the lineup of veteran presidents and vice presidents includes everything from Revolutionary War heroes to World War II fighter pilots, and even a few folks who managed to stay out of the line of fire. First, let's start with the numbers. Out of 46 US presidents, 31 have served in the military. That's about 2/3. So if you were placing bets on a president being a veteran, historically, you'd have pretty decent odds. However, fewer vice presidents have served in the military, only around 15. But considering how unpredictable US elections can be, I guess vice presidents are happy just to survive their terms without combat experience. Our very first president, George Washington, was, of course, a veteran. Washington led the Continental Army to victory in the American Revolutionary War. He wasn't just any military leader, he was the ultimate revolutionary. If there were a military hall of fame, Washington would be up there with a big statue, maybe even holding a plaque that says, "I started this." Then there's Thomas Jefferson, our third president, who famously avoided military service. Jefferson was more interested in diplomacy, writing, and of course, drafting the Declaration of Independence. But don't worry, the military tradition continued with James Madison and James Monroe, both of whom served in the Revolutionary War. Madison, though, is known more for his brains than his brawn. He reportedly had a sickly constitution, which doesn't exactly sound like combat material, but hey, he did his part. Next up, we can't forget Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th president, who led the Union Army to victory in the Civil War. Grant was so beloved as a military leader that people figured he could solve all of America's post-war problems. But as it turns out, being good on the battlefield doesn't necessarily mean you're good in the Oval Office. Grant's presidency was plagued by corruption scandals. Now, when it comes to recent presidents, we have quite a few veterans in modern times too. Talk about a career shift. Eisenhower's military background made him exceptionally respected, especially during the Cold War. Jumping forward, we can't skip over John F. Kennedy, a decorated World War II hero who commanded a patrol torpedo boat in the Pacific. His story of bravery after his boat was destroyed is the stuff of legend. And while Kennedy's military experience played a significant role in his popularity, he was also one of the youngest presidents. The combination of his service, youth, and, let's be honest, charm made him iconic. In terms of vice presidents who served, let's give a nod to Gerald Ford. Ford was a Navy man during World War II and saw active duty in the Pacific. His military experience gave him a grounded perspective when he eventually took over the presidency following Nixon's resignation. And while Ford might not have gone down in history as a showstopper, he did bring stability during a turbulent time. More recently, George H.W. Bush, the 41st president, served as a Navy pilot in World War II and was actually one of the youngest aviators in the Navy at the time. He was shot down in the Pacific and narrowly survived. A real-life action story that put him in the national spotlight even before his political career took off. Bush's military experience deeply influenced his worldview, especially when he led the country through the Gulf War. As we look at today's leaders, military service is no longer a given. Neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris served in the military, reflecting how the presidency's qualifications have shifted. While military experience was once a rite of passage, today it's more about the skill set, values, and perspective they bring to the office. Thanks for taking this journey with us through America's veteran presidents and vice presidents. As we honor veterans today, if you enjoyed this look into presidential history, hit that like button, share your favorite presidential story in the comments, and don't forget, subscribe for more fascinating deep dives. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all who have served.